It's your boy, Ed the Dread, aka Eddie Money Mouth, and you are tuned in to the Money Mouth Podcast. Yes, sir. Whoo-wee. It is your boy, Ed the Dread, coming at ya with the weekly topic at hand, which is, are we a society of idol worshippers? And should we ever worship the idols? We don't know. Or maybe we do know. Who knows? I thought about this due to uh, happening to stumble across the Jaguar Wright podcast that most recently came out. You know, previously listening to Cat Williams' more recent podcasts and just, seeing what's been going on with all these people that were such big idols back in the day. And now it seems as though they were on the evil side of things. Specifically, I heard a Charleston White quote, or just listening to Charleston White say something about um, how he thought that this new generation of humans were probably more along the lines of, not having any morals due to the fact that they are idol worshiping as opposed to listening to their parents and or you know people in their communities, their teachers, things along that lines. So that plays a lot into my own life. As one, I spent a lot of time looking up to people who were in a position where I wanted to be as far as athletics went. um, I did sports my whole life, and that was a very large part of my life. And, from a very young age, I always had pictures of people on my wall that had made it to a place where I wanted to be. Um, I always had pictures of people riding waves. I'd watch skimboard and surf videos because I really wanted to do that. I had a large collection of music and always saved all my CD covers and made collages of them because I was really, really into music. So, with that said, I would definitely say that I for sure idolized people that were just good at things. Um, and with that said, during that period of my life, uh, I was definitely more along the lines of, a good person who was like, fighting with my morals. Um, Not saying that I base it on the music I listened to or the movies I watched or things that I did along those lines, but just being in the environment that you're in, you're as much of that environment as it is you and the society that you're a part of. It just turned out that way. You know, Although I did idolize a lot of pro athletes and such in my regular everyday activity, I honestly never really listened to anyone who hadn't been to where I wanted to be. I had a number of coaches throughout different sports, and the ones that had the biggest impact on me were the ones that could actually show me what they were talking about and or could still do that thing at a pretty competitive uh, level, right? So as I progressed in life, I've gotten way further away from idolizing people that have done things and more looking toward, or I mean, maybe not, they are people that have done things, but less along the lines of people that have just been successful in some creative aspect and or athletic aspect, and more along the lines of people that have been creative and successful in some sort of, yogic, um, or saintly type thing. Not saying that I'm here like praying to a god, but the people that I do spend the most time using mantras toward are people that have laid the foundation for change of consciousness. With that said, uh, as I became that professional individual, whether it was in soccer, skimboarding, and nowadays into music and education. Um, I was never the person that, didn't give the time of day to people that wanted to be in my presence, right? Like I would sign autographs until the lights went out as a soccer player. As a skimboard coach, I gave, every ounce of uh, education that I could to every student, not just, the ones that showed the most promise or the ones that were here for the whole summer as opposed to just a week or something along those lines. As an announcer, if you've ever been to a contest, I try to keep the thing as loud. I mean, as loud, well, maybe as loud because I'm pretty damn loud, but as lively as you can for the whole event, but also in the same aspect, giving everyone a chance to shine because generally speaking, there's youth at these events that I'm announcing. And if you don't make your first heat, you're just there for maybe a 20-minute showdown. So you got to get your name called out at least once, twice in that time period, So, uh, in those areas where I've been successful due to the fact that I kind of did look up to people and idolize people in those areas. I never became the person that only cared about that thing. I definitely gave time of day to people that were in the world that I used to be in, the one that was looking up to that person. Um, so when it comes to relating all that to uh, right now in our society and how that plays into what I'm speaking of. In a classroom, I would say that I've probably gotten the least respect in my entire life. Um, it's not that you show up here, or it's not that I've shown up here because I'm sure people do show up here like tooting their own horn, but I never showed up to Maui doing anything along those lines. I've played professional soccer. I'm a professional skimboarder. I've owned businesses. I've traveled around. I've done a lot of different things when it comes to being a successful person. You know, with that said, when I show up in a classroom, I'm just a teacher guy. And that is one thing that students will throw into your face. It doesn't matter how much education you have, where you've been, what experiences you have. If you try to maybe relate some information, possibly something more than just this math problem that could help them in their lives, I swear I've heard 50 to 60% of the time, yeah, well, you're just a teacher. Like, you broke. Who gives a shit? You just a teacher. And that's honestly what drove me to the point where I was like, I'm gonna make meals. Like it's one of those things. Like I have the ability to, I have an education. I'm outgoing. I've got a lot of skills and creativity in different aspects. But a person like me shouldn't have to wait in line and sit behind people and work my way up some ladder that has a ceiling. You know, but again, when you're a person who's trying the best for your community and or I'm not a parent, but I can probably see where it might work out this way for some parents if they're trying their hardest and still things aren't working, because like you said, we've got a society where generally speaking, the younger generation, if you don't got a mill and your truck ain't lifted and you don't got a gold chain and your watch isn't worth something, like no one really gives a shit what you're talking about. Like, especially, at the time where I didn't wear like collared shirts to school, like when I just showed up looking like just the average guy, just a pair of pants and a t-shirt, like that was it. No one like what? Yeah, whatever, mister. You're a teacher. Doesn't matter if, what you're saying could help my future. Yeah, you're just a teacher. So it's one of those things where I understand what's being said in that quote from Charleston White, you know, uh and I actually have been in that scenario, but nowadays everything is accelerated with the internet and social media. So a person you didn't even know a day ago could become your idol the next day if flooded in your feed enough, you know. Now, uh when you have idols or people that you're looking up to or people that you're just, infatuated with in that area of life that adore them in, um I would honestly say it's probably just best to never meet him in person. uh, I will tell you right now, there's been 2 times, and I mean, it's not, in athletics. I mean, I've watched people in athletics kind of, not care about fans and just, "Oh, I only have to sign autographs for 5 minutes in my contract, so I'm just signing for 5 and I'm gonna be out," when there's, like, a line of kids waiting and, people that cared to see them play. Um, but my most experience or what I can speak most about comes from music because I've been a huge fan of music my whole life. And it isn't until I became a person that makes music and, studies it and pays attention and looks at how all sorts of things is made from production to songwriting to video production and editing. Like a lot of times musicians might live one way and produce their music another way. You know, I mean, I'm maybe not call out the band or whatever, but a band that I spent a lot of time following and or listening to, a lot of songs struck me like in my soul at a time where I was having a lot of growth in consciousness and just change in my personality. Um, and they were like anthems for me in my life. And there, I mean, specifically, there's like songs where homies talk about like what's going on with all these animals led to the slaughter, and then the next song to come out on the next album is like how much I love bacon, and you're like what? But again, is it their fault for being the artist? No, like I mean, your favorite rappers might have a ghostwriter. You know what I'm saying? It's not nowadays music is entertainment. So it shouldn't be expected that everyone is uh embodying what their life is when they're doing this entertaining as a musician. But as a person that when I write music and when I do all of that type of stuff entertaining, it's never going to be some made up shit. It's going to be something that I've experienced in my life and or something that, I've been inspired by through experience. Um it's almost painful when when you find out, or you see and or you realize that like these people who have meant so much to your life through whatever creative outlet you've followed them might not live up to what you thought, and I guess that's the reality of anything. We live in a world where AI generation can remake Tupac. Like you can anything could be just made up or fabricated. So in entertainment and in art, I would say that there's a lot of made up and fabrication as well, which is okay. Because if it's just for that purpose, then that's all that it is. But if you're sitting there saying that you're the realist this or, whatever it is, it's all mine, it's all this, I did it all, but you didn't, then there's an issue with that. Right? So I'll say it as Jeremy Jarvis told it to me. Never meet your favorite musician. It's just a thing. Listen to the music, be inspired by it, make music yourself. You don't gotta, hang out with them. Maybe you make music with them later or something. You go see their show, whatever. But you don't gotta be the person that's trying to like get up on stage with them and hang out on their bus and go backstage. Like you might not like them and or lose respect for them. You know. Lastly, I guess we'll leave on. You know, it is okay. Although I've spoken a bit about idolizing people, um, it is okay to do so. There are a lot of people that have been inspiration to others. It's when you kind of cross that line into like worshiping this person for what they do that might be a little bit too far. So, Ed the Dread, Money Mouth Podcast. Are we a society of idol worshipers? I don't know. Maybe in America, quite possibly. Should you ever meet your idol? Maybe. Maybe. But maybe not. We'll leave it up to you to find out. Hit the like button, click subscribe. You got to get the bell because you don't know what time I'm dropping this on Monday. So hit the bell. Share if you care. Ed the Dread coming at you. A hooey ho, Kako.